Hello, you beautiful and people, and welcome back to another Bedrock redstone basic video. So yeah, if things seem a little bit different, yeah, it is because I can I have now like a mad crazy render distance, but I don't actually like seeing 72 chunks, so I just put it here in the middle somewhere. But yes, I've got a new PC, so hopefully the video should be more smooth and less laggy. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started with this video. Oh yeah, I never actually mentioned what this video is. So yeah, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to spit out blocks in Bedrock, both for vertical and horizontal, for both single pistons as well as double piston extenders. Now you might be wondering why on earth you would want to spit out blocks. Now, if you've ever watched any Java redstone tutorial, you will probably know that, well, they use it pretty much everywhere in Java, and well, it's pretty useful in Bedrock as well, but in Bedrock, we have to build a whole separate circuit to spit out the block as opposed to just sending a one-tick pulse into the sticky piston. So yeah, let's get started. So here we have how to do a single piston. Now, the way it works is you're always going to have one more piston than the amount of extension, if that makes sense. Like for a single piston extension, you're gonna need 2 pistons. For a double piston extender spit out thingy, you're going to need 3 pistons. And for a triple piston extender, you're going to need 4 pistons. But yeah, I'm not going to actually be showing you how to do a triple piston extender, just a double piston extender. But yeah, how it works is when we power on the circuit, we want to power this back piston. And as you can see, by doing that, it will push out this block and retract this sticky piston, but the block will stay over there. And when we depower the circuit, we want to power this front piston. So but when on the rising edge, you want to extend the back one, and on the falling edge, you want to extend the front piston, if that makes sense. Now, I created 2 designs here for you guys to copy if you'd like to. This first one is 2 by 2, and this one is 3, but it is only 1 block wide. So as you can see, we have our 2 pistons over here, and with another piston on here and an observer running into a block with redstone and a repeater on 3/6. And then just a block over here. Now this is an inverted circuit, meaning that when this lever is on, the circuit will be off, and when we turn off this lever, the circuit will be on. So as you can see, when we activate the circuit, this piston gets retracted, and that pushes this piston, powers this piston, spitting out the block. And when we power it on again, this observer will get pushed over to there, powering this block and powering this redstone delay over here, which will just retract the block. Now this 1Y design is pretty much exactly the same. All that we did was we took this circuit over here, this part on the side, and we just moved it into, or 1 block down. As you can see, it works exactly the same. Now things get a little bit more complex when you're working vertically, and it also gets a bit bigger, and that's just because, well, it's vertical redstone, that's always a bit bigger. So we have the same setup with our piston and observer, and as you can see, on when we power on the circuit, it's pretty much exactly the same. This observer just powers the sticky piston, but when we depower it or check the block, we power this little repeater over here, which will just carry over here and power the stop piston. Now this has to be a transparent block over here. I'm using glass, but you can just use a slab or any other transparent block, because we want to power this top piston and not this bottom piston. If this were to be a solid block, you will get one of those classic redstone randomness. So you'll kind of have a 50-50 chance if the top one will be powered or the bottom one will be powered. Let me quickly show you what I mean. So if we put a solid block over here, we will see that splitting out the block is still the same, but when we power this little circuit over here, you'll see that the bottom piston gets powered, and sometimes it will retract and sometimes it will just give a double pulse like that. So remember, use a transparent block over there. For double piston extenders, like I mentioned, you're going to need the 2 pistons for a double piston extender plus 1 extra one. Now it gets a little bit more complex when we on the falling edge, when we depower the circuit. But when we activate the circuit, we're going to use these back 2 pistons. So we just power that one, and as you can see, this piston remains unextended, meaning that when we depower these guys, the block will stay behind. Now when we want to retract that block, sadly, we're going to need to make sure that this piston is retracted. Then we're going to need to power the front piston, retract the back piston, and then power this middle piston as well as that front piston again. So yeah, it's a more complex circuit, but just those back 2 pistons, we retract this one, we retract this guy, retract the back one, middle one, front one. So it's very similar to a normal piston extender, except it's just, yeah, it's a little bit more complex. So over here I have a design for us, and yeah, how it works is we have our 3 pistons over there, an observer pointing downwards, a piece of redstone, a repeater on 3 ticks. If we jump over to the other side, we're going to see a dropper with a piece of redstone on top, an observer, a block, another dropper, and another observer with a block. So as you can see, when we power this sucker, it will spit out the block, and when we depower it, all of the sequence will happen, and we will retract the block again. So just like that. I'm just going to give you one quick glimpse of it again so that you can copy it easily. Now for the flat one, it's pretty much exactly the same except flat and more repeaters, because redstone randomness is pretty weird sometimes. Now when we power it, you'll see that we have the exact same thing, but it's a bit more complex. So we have this piston. So we have our 3 pistons, then we have a torch on this side. Now this is actually a Bedrock bug, but if you power a piston with a torch on, the torch will turn off. Now this is actually really useful, since it doesn't matter if it's a piece of redstone or an observer. You can even do this with a redstone block. So that's just a bug that might get patched out in the future, but it's been in here for a while, so I highly doubt it. So it's just 3 pistons, torch, observer, block. Over here we have block, redstone, repeater on 1 tick, a dropper, an observer, another block, 3 pieces of redstone, a repeater on 3 ticks, and an observer pointing into that block. And as you can see, it works exactly the same as the others. Now surprisingly, the vertical one is actually pretty simple as well. It also utilizes this bug with the torches, but it's actually pretty easy to change if this thing would ever get patched out. So I'll show you how to do this one as well as how to make it without using this bug. As you can see, we have our 3 pistons, then we have a torch, 2 observers, a piece of redstone, a repeater on 2 ticks running into this middle piston. Up here we have our redstone dust, a repeater on 1 tick running into a block with a piece of redstone on top of a lamp with another observer. Now as I've mentioned before in other videos, you need to use a lamp and you can't use a dropper or dispenser, because lamps have a cooldown time. What I mean by that is when we power it, you can see it turns on instantly, but when we depower it, it stays on for a little bit longer. And that extra delay is what allows us to get a constant or a circuit that will work every time. So when you power it, it spits out the block, and we depower it and it retracts again. So yeah, hopefully you guys found this video useful, and if you did, feel free to leave a like and to subscribe if you're new around here. And yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I'll see all of you again in the future with a brand new video. Bye!